Hi and welcome to The Winning Factor. I'm Alan Aitken, and on this show each week we take a look at some upcoming races in Hong Kong and try to isolate an aspect of the race that might be a path to finding the winner. Well, Group 1 racing again this weekend in Hong Kong, the Queen's Silver Jubilee Cup, and that's going to be one of our races for the show today. But the first one I'm going to look at is race 6, where our winning factor is the draw. Now this is a 1400 metre class 4, and I think there'll be arguments made for Voyage Samurai, a debut winner, and that always commands respect. Golden Rise is racing consistently, and horses like Shinkansen, Happy Daily or Smiling Collector, I think they'll have some fans. But for me, this race is really all about what happens with just one horse, Hugh Bowman's ride, Patch of Theta. Now, so far, Patch of Theta's Hong Kong career has been 4 starts for 4 placings. He hasn't quite got the job done, but there have been circumstances to that. We'll get to more of that in a minute. But let's have a look at his last 2 starts, both of them from wide draws. Firstly, race 374, he's in gate 10, blue and white colours, and begins okay, but Keegan de Mello is in no hurry. He lets the speed go through underneath as he looks for a position midfield, but he has to be content with being wide there with some cover. Now look at the heat map. The pace is just steady to the home straight, and then the leaders sprint hard. So there's no assistance here for run-on horses, but Patch of Theta applies himself well and is the only runner able to make significant gains in the last 400 metres. Then in February, we saw him again over the Sha Tin 1200 metres, this time from gate 12. This is race 409, and again, Patch of Theta jumps okay, but there are too many under him this time with speed. He drifts back wide again, and this time he ends up even further back from the lead as the pace, as you can see on the heat map, is more genuine, but still not fast enough to be giving him a lot of assistance. The leader is the eventual winner, but again, Patch of Theta is too far away, applies himself strongly to take a lot of ground off the leader and gets into second in the closing stages. Now in both of those replays, Patch of Theta has run one of the best finishing sprints of the day and has been bettered during those meetings only by the horses coming out of the feature races of the afternoon, Class 2 and a Group 1. So that's pretty good for Class 4. He's racing well, but we haven't been able to see him in his best light, and that's because in his 4 starts he's had barriers 1, 9, 10 and 12. And barrier 1 was down the straight, where those low draws are a disadvantage. So we haven't been able to see him at his very best. But when we take a look at the map for Sunday's event, this time he finally gets a low draw in a circle race. Gate 4, he gets a distance increase, which doesn't look any problem for him. And while Keegan de Mello has done nothing wrong, top rider Hugh Bowman is the lucky jockey who lands on his back in just the right moment. He also gets a race that looks truly run. A good blend of horses here are wanting to press forward and those happy to run on, and that looks a good recipe for him too. So the tip in race 6, Patch of Theta. His winning factor, the draw. Now I do think wherever he drew he was going to be one of the chances in this race, but moving to a suitable inside draw for a change, Patch of Theta really looks the one to beat. The other race I want to take a look at is the feature race 7, and our winning factor here, the bin race. So this is the Group 1 Queen's Silver Jubilee Cup, and let's cut to the chase. It's a field of good quality horses right across the board, but I think the genuine winning chances come down to just 4. Lucky Swainess seeking back-to-back victories in this race, Stewards Cup runner-up Beauty Eternal, and the Pierre-trained Rising Stars Galaxy Patch and Taj Dragon. And that lines up with the history of this race. As you can see here in the results for the past 20 years, historically, this has not been a race to go looking for outsiders. 11 of the last 20 outright favourites have won, but look at the winning odds. Only one winner in 20 years from outside the headline chances. Even 5 to 1 has looked a roughie in this race. And I think those I've identified earlier, they will be the main chances in the market, with Lucky Swainess favourite. even though there does seem to be a little bit of public doubt about where he's at in his career after his defeat last start as a 1.3 favourite. So let's take a look at that race and the extenuating circumstances. This is race 376, and in yellow colours from gate 5, Lucky Sweynesse is slow away. That is not normal with him, but is also not unheard of. Remember his Hong Kong sprint defeat a couple of years ago when he was slow to begin. Zach Purton rides him along, but the horse has no early speed, despite what we can see on the heat map is actually a slow tempo. Taj Dragon in the light blue also went back from his wide gate and across the rail where he gets keen. And we also see Lucky Sweynesse does too, pulling hard, running up onto heels at the 900 and having to check. Meanwhile, Victor the winner coasts in front before sprinting for home. Lucky Sweynesse never a chance and ultimately runs into 6th, narrowly ahead of Taj Dragon. Now that run wasn't terrible, but if you bet him at 1.3, running a good 6th is not really what you had in mind. But this is an example of what I refer to as a bin race. It goes straight in the garbage bin as a guide to the future. We had a setup that suited only one runner, the winner, and horses behind had plenty of excuses, and it certainly didn't help afterwards when Lucky Sweynesse was found to have pulled up lame as well, and I thought Taj Dragon had his excuses. So I don't think we should be looking at that race as the guide to Sunday's event. So let's take a look at his rivals and what they've been doing. Firstly, the Stewards Cup and Beauty Eternal. This is race 357, and in a field of 8, Beauty Eternal has gate 8 in the pink and black beauty colours. Zach Purton has him sharply out of the gates to press forward and sit outside California Spangle, with the eventual winner Voyage Bubble landing in 3rd, where he had the softest run in the race. As the heat map shows, the pace was average for the first half, steadied on the circle and then quickened down the straight. So although Beauty Eternal mostly has his chance, that little bit of extra work he did early does look to tell late in the race, the final 50 metres, and Voyage Bubble comes away. Now that was a very sound effort at the top level from Beauty Eternal, and although he comes back in distance, he has only been beaten once in 4 starts at 1400 metres. And that gate speed that he showed there, I think that's going to be critical to the outcome of this race. More of that in a moment. So Galaxy Patch is the other horse we have to look at, and he's the one that's trod the most unusual path, coming to 1400 metres for the first time and a Group 1 race for the first time, and that is by coming here as a prep race through a 1000 metre Class 2 last week, where he not only had an unusual race setup, but he also got beaten out of a place. And let's look at why. So this is race 472, gate 9, white, blue and yellow colours. Galaxy Patch, not the fastest away, and that is somewhat typical of him, but it was certainly no help the way this race turned out. Although there were 4 speed horses, 3 of them decided not to pressure Nervous Witness, who leads on the preferred outside lane, gets a good rest mid-race before kicking on again at the finish, and whatever chance the run-on horses had of running him down is gone. So for me, that's another bin race. As far as a guide to the future, I think it might be a little bit unreliable. But Galaxy Patch does also have some challenges on the map. The regular leaders here are California Spangle and Healthy Happy, a horse who is usually more positively ridden at 1400 metres than we saw in the Stewards Cup. Red Lion, he'll take the box seat, and likely James McDonald's plan with Lucky Sweynesse will be to push forward into the first few, which is where we've seen him in the past at this distance. But as mentioned earlier, Beauty Eternal has a big role to play on the map. Remember, Zach Purton has been the regular rider of Lucky Sweynesse for a long time. He knows only too well that the horse can shuffle out at the start, not to mention just plain miss away at times. And I think he'll try and take advantage of that from his draw inside the favourite, looking to occupy a handy position and either getting in front of Lucky Sweynesse or at least making James McDonald make use of that horse to get around him to an on-pace spot. We've had some great tactical battles between these two fabulous jockeys lately, and this promises to be yet another one. But for me, the tip in race 7, Lucky Sweynesse. His winning factor, the bin race. Even though he was well beaten in his lead-up, I really think that Centenary Sprint Cup goes in the bin as a guide to the future. I think we'll see the best of him this time, and on that basis, I think he'll win back-to-back Queen's Silver Jubilee sprints. Well, that's it from the winning factor this week. Enjoy the Group 1 on Sunday. We'll see you next time.